Hi, this is James A. with Full Capital. I'm here with Bill Richmond, Platt Richmond. So, Bill, thank you for jumping on. Um, I guess to kick it off, let's just go through, give people a little bit of your background, a little bit of the firm's background, and we'll get into a couple more questions after that in terms of the market and what you're seeing with investors. So, go ahead and kick it off that way.
Thanks so much, James. Glad to be here. Proud to be the founding partner along with my colleague, Judge Platt of Platt Richmond. We're a full service business firm with a particular focus on commercial real estate in North Texas and throughout the central region. So we're very excited to be participating with Old Capital and excited about the conference. By way of background, the firm itself has been around for just over 10 years. We just celebrated 10 years in July of 2025, and we built our core, our foundation is around both transactions and litigation related to commercial real estate, in particular, multifamily deals of all stripes and sizes. So we've been fortunate to have been through a couple of different waves of this over our years in the law, but have in the last 10 years done a lot of focus on not only helping developers, but those who are in the entire ecosystem of multifamily. So our practice has expanded to include a robust M&A section, corporate, et cetera. So we're well versed on the corporate side for commercial real estate, as well as litigating a variety of issues, anywhere from eminent domain to restrictions to P&Z hearings, all the way to investor disputes, as well as vendor disputes, arbitrations, and whatnot. So quite a robust different types of areas that the litigators and transactional team can be a part of. But we're based here in Dallas, Texas, and have just over 30 attorneys who are focused on all of these different practice areas.
Okay, and take a step back from the company and just give us your background real quick. Just
Yeah,
give us the
so
30-second.
30 seconds is been in Texas the majority of my life now.
Okay.
17 years, came down here for law school, decided to stay. Met my wife here, have two young kids, and I enjoy playing music, shooting clays, and doing legal stuff.
Doing legal stuff. Okay, so there's a lot of people. So when people think of attorneys in our space, a lot of people think, okay, uh, I got a deal under contract, so I need help reviewing the PSA. Then, okay, oh wait, I got to raise money from maybe do a syndication, so I got to do a PPM. Do you guys focus in on that part of it, or do you guys do broader stuff like with developers where they're going in? Like, tell me what's the typical client that's coming to you guys?
Well, there's quite a variety.
Okay.
With 30 attorneys, that means we've got covered actually both of the areas you just mentioned. So
Okay.
we will get calls from long-established developers who are moving into certain areas, want to have us work on their agreements,
Okay.
to help us work with city attorneys, with P&Zs, to look at zoning. In particular, my partner Stephen Dimmitt, who will be at the conference, he has been a guru in the space of zoning and other entitlements and rights related to that. Has litigated those, has been a part of those, and has structured deals around those types of issues, including, local benefits, working with economic development councils to get deals done and to really shape the way that the cities are building around multifamily and allowing multifamily to be developed. And then on the transactional side, we have worked with folks who are Fortune 500 companies who are doing deals here in Texas. We've also worked with the guy who left a big company. It's
Yeah.
just a laptop at his kitchen island and has taken it to, a half billion in assets under management by acquisition. So we see people through that life cycle and can help them with our different teams.
So do you, I'm going to say one word and you tell me if you guys work, have you dealt with opportunity zones or PFCs or HFCs? Have you guys touched that? I know all those are sort of hot topics right now. Have you guys touched in on any of those or are you working
We
in that
have.
space? Okay.
Yeah, so between our corporate and our real estate sections, they really partner when it comes to opportunity zones, and looking at those alternative types of deals and structures. There was so many questions when those first came out, and now we're starting to see folks pop up that have more knowledge, and we've been fortunate to touch on a number of those deals and work with others, both folks in Dallas and around Dallas, tax professionals as well, to make sure that those get done in the right way.
What do you, I mean, so there's a lot of attorneys in the space, and what do you think? I mean, you guys have been in business now for 10 years, I think you said. Like, what do you think differentiates you guys from other law firms that are out there? Is there anything in particular that stands out for you?
Yeah, we're built by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. So most attorneys have kind of chosen a path of they know their area, they work on it, but they don't quite have an understanding of what the clients are talking about from the business side.
Okay.
But for us, we have been in it. All three founders have a long history of working in businesses outside of the law. So even if you set aside the building of a 30-person law firm over the course of 10 years, we each have been executives, owners, leading operations, leading sales in other businesses that we have founded ourselves, whether in real estate or otherwise. We're also active real estate investors predating us becoming lawyers. So,
Hmm.
having already been in that space, we know the ins and outs. We also know the practical bottom line concerns that are there. We understand when folks are saying, hey, this doesn't pencil out in the right way, and why a deal needs to be handled in a slightly with a little bit more kid gloves, or why a negotiation is going a certain way. If all you know is the terms and all you know is the contract paper, you don't recognize the realities of the people, the deals, and the real dynamics that gets a deal done and makes that deal successful.
Do you know what the worst thing a lawyer can be called?
A no lawyer.
No, 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 not a no lawyer. But if there's certain lawyers and where I'm gonna come out and say it is just they just feel like they kill deals, deal killer,
Yeah,
where you've gotten to the point where you're negotiating so hard on behalf of your client for this detail that ends up killing the deal when you like take a step back and you're like the chance of that happening is this small on this size of a deal. Like, let's not kill the deal because of that. And so, we like working with lawyers who they understand the big picture of the deal and the sense of what it's going to take to get this deal across the finish line. And because what we're seeing right now, we finance a lot of transactions in the market, and so what we're seeing is in 21 and 22 a lot of deals, they got it under contract. 45 days later, the lender funded the deal and all the equity came flooding in, right? And so, the deal will close, everyone will get paid and go on their way, right? But
right.
now, like the last couple years, what we've seen is the deal gets under contract, oh man, we've got to go back and renegotiate something, or the lender's asking for something. So there's a lot more interaction, I think, between the buyer, the attorneys, and the sellers and things like that on these transactions. So you got to have people who are savvy, people who have done this before. Just out of curiosity, what did you do before law? Can you, or if you have
Yeah,
something
yeah.
going on before, like, can you?
I've been in healthcare and real estate. So
Okay,
one of my very good friends eventually became one of my law partners. We actually looked at a wholesale fruit and vegetable company here in
okay,
Dallas.
okay,
And in the course of evaluating that, ended up doing some real estate deals, both in the hospitality and industrial space.
okay.
I actually also separately own a healthcare startup company that helps companies fight their hospital bills for their employees.
Hmm.
So that's a
I think
completely
everybody
separate.
needs that.
Unfortunately, yes.
Everybody, that's
People.
just not an employee deal. That's
I
yeah,
mean, people say,
individual
"What's
deal.
this? What's the same?" And I said, "Well, all I do is I help people through broken systems,
Yeah.
legal and healthcare." But some of
That
my
should be the
partners,
tagline. That should be your
yes,
tagline. That yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's my some of my partners. So Judge Platt, who's my co-founder, he's been in real estate for many years. Romy Chima, who is one of our original founders, who no longer actually practices. He's just completely in commercial real estate.
yeah. Okay.
Is still a very good friend and still in the firm. He had been doing hospitality and industrial for many, many years. Before that, actually had been an in-house lawyer as well, so has seen it from the client side. But the reality is, the only difference between my side as the lawyer or our side as a firm representing clients and the client side, it's all here because we have to put ourselves in the shoes of the client. We have to know forest from the trees. And at the end of the day, we also have to know it's their deal. So if their mandate is get the deal done, we don't
Yeah.
come in and go, here's all the ways you could fuck this deal up, pardon my French,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Here's
yeah.
all the ways it could go south. We
Yeah.
come in and say, here's how those are, but
Yeah.
but this is how we get the deal done within your parameters and risk tolerances.
Right. So I know, I don't know if you've seen Better Call Saul or Breaking
I
Bad,
have. Yeah.
but as a lawyer, I feel like that's like required. That should be like required law school watching.
Yep.
But there's always like sort of lawyer client privilege or attorney client privilege.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in terms of like deals that you guys are working on now, things you're working on, what what does it feel like in the market to you right now? Like what's sort of the sentiment of buyers, sellers? Just give us some general trends that you're seeing right now.
Yeah, in multifamily, I polled my partners to see what are they seeing, right?
Yeah.
Not just the strict commercial real estate guys, which is Judge and Jesse and Steven, but also our corporate team as well, Robert and Adam, to see what are they feeling from their clients and the different sides. And what we're seeing is something pretty consistent, which is developments that are already been underway are still moving forward. We're not seeing
Okay.
any kind of drastic halt in construction or halt in development, but we have seen a continued slowdown in new developments, right?
Hmm.
Some of that is going to be hyper local. It could
Right.
be individual cities that have kind of changed their mandate, elections over the last year, or changes in city personnel that have put into flux what exactly is the vision, especially in Dallas in particular, I'd say kind of that North DFW area. But in other parts of the country, Arizona, throughout the Sun Belt, even in the Pacific Northwest, we're seeing hyper local zoning issues starting to crop up and make people reticent to go, let's see where we are before we start doing new developments.
Right.
And then I would say on the existing acquisition side, it's been relatively slow. We've seen a little bit more pickup on the affordable housing side,
Hmm.
but
Yeah.
really a mismatch in sentiment on rates
Hmm.
between buyers and sellers has made it difficult. That said, this has been a year that has felt like many, many years in the political climate and just everything that's happened. It's made people more skittish about what they're going to be doing, especially as we near Q4. And so we're not expecting to see much of an uptick. Our other partners in the business, whether on the development side, the acquisition side, even those who are counter-cyclical, are saying there's just largely a kind of standby mentality, not just because of rates, but because of the larger political sentiment.
Right. Like in terms of I think is there anything else that clients like if people are watching this and they're like, when should I pick up the phone and call you guys? Right? So like whenever people reach out to me, whenever anyone's gonna buy a deal or they're looking at refinancing a deal, usually they call me and we sort of talk through the deal and we say, all right, like, okay, these are your options for different loans. These are the pros, these are the cons. This is the rent. This is we give them, we sort of have that conversation. But for an attorney like you guys, when do I pick up the phone and call you guys and say, hey, can you take a look at this? Um, is it at the LOI stage? Is it at the PSA stage? Like, what stage do you start getting calls from investors?
I'd say most of the time from new investors and developers, everyone is at the LOI stage. That's the
Okay.
most amount of calls that we get.
Okay.
But we actually, the longer we've been working with someone, the
Right.
later in the stage that will be because we already know we have imparted knowledge upon them so
Mm,
that we don't have to touch every LOI that goes out.
sure. Yeah.
We want to make sure that this is a good relationship. And by the same token, we're learning from them what we're going to need once it gets past the LOI stage.
Right.
So as the relationship progresses, it's later. But I would say in general, if someone is coming from out of state into
Mm,
Texas,
okay.
we're typically getting an earlier call. Though I will tell you, probably 5% of those are, hey, we should have called you 6 months ago, but we were in a really, really bad problem.
Yeah.
And that's when it comes to me as the litigator first, as opposed to the deal attorneys. But if someone's calling and they've been around the block, which I imagine is a lot of the folks you're dealing with, they're looking at that early LOI stage to say, I want to make sure I've got my ducks in a row, particularly if they're moving into a new city or a new market.
Have you, this is a touchy subject, but we've seen some deals, maybe let's say financed in 21, 22, where they're coming to the end of their loan term
Yeah.
and the lender's like, well, you need to pay me off. I'm not giving the extension. You need to pay me off. And, they're looking around and I'm saying, I can give you a $20 million loan, but your existing balance is 25, for example.
Yeah.
And so they're sort of stuck. Do you get involved in those situations where you're calling the lender and sort of trying to work through that stuff? Or even the situation where, maybe the GP, it was, he was great 2 years ago, but right now he's not there. Like he's not performing, and maybe the limited partners or another general partner wants to take them out. Like, is that something you get involved in? Because I feel like there's been a little bit more of a restructuring of ownership
Yep.
on some of these deals, but maybe touch on, I don't know if you have a case study or something that in that regards.
Well, I would say we're seeing an uptick on this that works as a function of how distant the investment relationships were, or how much of a gap there is between the type of deal that's being done and how much experience they have. So
Okay.
the if this is more of a reach type of deal, maybe it's the largest deal they've ever done, maybe it's
Mm.
in a new market, then you have less confidence from the investors, even if those investors are close, and you start seeing that more chippy, hey, can you guys review to see what my powers are? Can you even
Mm.
just see what are my audit rights?
Yeah.
Or, hey, what's the best way to phrase this? I want to let them know I'm serious, but I also don't want to just set alarm bells off. There's a lot of times where we're ghostwriting communications to make sure simply the client doesn't want to let them know that a lawyer's involved. They're not even trying
Mm.
to really light that fire yet,
Yeah.
but they also want to make sure that their communication doesn't waive a right or leave out a power that they could have. So a lot of ghostwriting happens on those earlier questionings, inquiries, if you will. But unfortunately, we do get those. And the further removed the investors are from the sponsor or the GP, the more they're going to start saying, hey, whether we're representing the GP or the investor, either way, you start to have just less love lost, less credibility, which means more questions earlier on.
I've never thought of having an attorney write an email for me without.
And James, this is why you have a brightness and a vigor about you, because you haven't had to do that. Um, but yeah, I mean it's true, because there's bells you can ring, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden you're like, man, I wish I had never written that the way that I wrote it, or if I had come out in this way and let them know the full set of my rights in the beginning, I never would have given them the opening to think they could screw around more. Again, those
Yeah,
are
or
just two
just yeah, you
examples.
come out guns a blazing, and the guy's like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! I didn't, yeah, I didn't expect this. You put in $100,000 in this deal. Like, I didn't expect you coming
Yes.
out with this." Okay, so I got you. Um, all right, so you're gonna be at the conference here in about a month. You and your
Excited.
team. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to touch on today? Or you can just wrap up with maybe just the best way for people to reach out to you and your team and just sort of figure out what's the best way for people to contact you.
Yeah, I think people are really excited about the conference. We've already had a lot of folks kind of reaching out who are going to be in town for it, folks who are wanting to meet other folks. We're happy to be a hub on that front. We always say our Rolodex is your Rolodex, because it really is a small world of people who want to get deals done. And that's both sides. So, and that's every vendor that we work with, whether in the law or otherwise on the development side. But the best way to get a hold of us is look up on our website, plattrichmond.com. And the three partners who lead our real estate section are going to be Generally Your Best, which will be Stephen Dimmitt, who does both basic transactions, lending, as well as a big focus on zoning and infrastructure type deals. And all of that, just kind of the mix in for logistics and zoning itself. Jesse Shallcross, who's our partner that handles a lot on the finance side. And then Judge Platt, who is, I would call, the well rounded entrepreneur of commercial real estate professionals. So Judge, Jesse, Dimmitt, myself, as well as Robert Daniel, our managing partner and corporate attorney, will be at the conference. Frank Hill, one of our litigation partners who does a lot in real estate. But you can find us on the website, look at our bios. I would say, in answer to your question earlier, when are people calling us? Frankly, we're easy to talk to. Just give us a call. We're not going to send you an invoice. Let's get a relationship going.
Going. Yeah.
Maybe we're the best fit. Maybe someone else is. But again, it's a small world. Let's just do some deals.
Yeah. There you go. The opposite of my initial deal killer. I love it. All right, Bill, I appreciate you jumping on, and we'll see you guys in a month.
All right. Thanks, James. Have a good one.
All right, I'll see you.